Up next, Robert Jakobi, kind of come up to this stage. He is the founder of BOU. How are you?
What's up? I was told to put this straight like that.
Well done, well done. This looks fantastic.
Great.
So how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You've had a busy show so far. You did a podcast interview with our CMO, Mike Schneider, earlier today.
Yeah.
You've been running, I saw you earlier this morning, you were running around looking for your product. Not that there was any issue with it, you found it. It was just in a section that wasn't necessarily where it was originally thought to be, right?
Exactly.
Okay, great.
We found it. We're just over there, so we've.
Okay, as amid the sampling expo here at NOSH Live Winter 2018, there are dozens of brands, dozens of people, and if not hundreds of people out here. This is great. So, for viewers at home who are not familiar with your brand, what is BOU?
So BOU is a better for you range of soup products in the bouillon category, in the gravy category, and then in the instant soup cups category. So what we're really doing is we're disrupting these very stale categories that haven't seen an innovation in a very long time, dominated by big players like Campbell's, Knorr, Cup and Noodle, etc. So we launched in the market 15 months ago with the bouillon cubes. That was our first product range in chicken, vegetable, and beef. They're cleaner ingredients than, say, Knorr, 30% less sodium, all natural, non-GMO, gluten-free. And then we moved into gravy cubes, and then we moved into our instant soup cups, which we're most excited about because this is a $12 billion category, which has been dominated by Cup and Noodle for decades, which has a cult following.
Yep.
I'm sure if you were a student in university, you would have had Cup and Noodle as a snack.
I tried to stay away from those for the most part.
Try to stay away from them, but a lot of people have it.
Yep.
So we're about 15 months old now. We're in 5,500 locations across the country, and that's BOU.
And so the company recently undertook a fundraising campaign, a successful round of funding. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, we did a Series B round. We raised $4 million. We're growing very quickly, so we're now going to use those funds to build out the team, to do some aggressive marketing campaigns with the soup cups. This, I hope, will be our last round because every time you do a round, it's dilutive. I never raised any money before, so in my last 2 businesses in the UK, we self-funded them.
So, there are entrepreneurs out there that have done their C, that have done their Series A. What do you have to take into consideration when you're doing that Series B? Again, dilution's a question. How much do you have to take? What are some of the factors that you brought into that conversation?
I think we want to make sure that we're bringing on the right investors that are adding value. We're not giving away too much of the company. But obviously, we have to have a story. So we only closed our Series A round in January. We just closed the B round in November. Yep. So over those 10, 11 months, we have to show some real momentum. We have to show some growth. We have to show real velocity with the brand, which we did. Otherwise, we would be doing a down round. Those are the main things.
So you said did you start out with the cubes, right?
We started off with the cubes.
Yep.
And then we moved in eventually into these products, the soup cups. You're going to ask why?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, it's got to be kind of a hard transition to go from an ingredient to basically a finished product, or at least a product that's ready to serve, ready to eat. How was it? How did you make that transition? I mean, was it a difficult one to make for you?
No, I mean, we always had in our plans to launch the soup cups.
Okay.
The bouillon category in the US is very small. It's 300 million.
Right.
So we knew that we had a real opportunity here, but for us, the most exciting category was instant soups, which is a $12 billion category. But this product took us a year to develop and make and launch. The cubes were ready in a matter of months.
Yep.
And we felt this was an easy product to launch with. In the back of store, as you said, it's a cooking ingredient.
Right.
It's not a on-the-go product. And then we moved into these products, which is a very good follow-on because the base is a cube.
Mm-hmm.
We're not using a dried powder like Cup and Noodle. We're using our low-sodium cubes. So we felt it made sense to eventually get into these products. If we launched with the soup cups, we wouldn't have launched till 2 months ago. And we wanted to be in the market last year and build the brand and seed it.
So, as you mentioned, you started a couple of businesses before this in the UK. What were those businesses, and can you tell us a little about that transition from, selling in the UK to selling in the United States?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, the first business that I had, and you can relate to it, was a gourmet healthy popcorn brand. and we built that brand up into the fastest growing brand in the UK. We had the largest market share. We sold that brand to kettle chips. So for all of the US viewers out here, think Skinny Pop or Boom Chicka Pop. It was called Metcalf Skinny Popcorn.
Okay.
We sold the business 2.5 years ago. Schneider's Lance, who at the time owned kettle chips, for them it was very strategic. They were making potato chips and wanted to get into popcorn, which was growing year over year. Funnily enough, kettle chips is now owned by Campbell's. And Campbell's is obviously in soups.
Mm-hmm.
And my next baby, this is, we're in soups. That was the first business. We then also had a brand called Itsu, ITSU, which is, if you know Pret a Manger, which is a
Yep.
UK restaurant chain, this is very similar but Asian inspired. So eat in, takeout, sushi, salads, anything Asian inspired. We have about 110 locations now in the UK. It's still privately owned. And we also took that Itsu brand into the supermarkets. So we had a range of noodle cups, we had a range of seaweed thins, things like that, anything Asian inspired. So those were the businesses, my previous businesses in the UK.
So again, based on your experience in the UK, it's got to be a little different operating in this market, the American market.
Absolutely. So the culture here is very different. I was talking a bit about this earlier on the podcast. The US versus UK, there's much more money over here. People, the VC world is much bigger. Valuations in this space are much higher. People in the UK don't raise as much money. We self-funded our businesses in the UK. I never raised money before I came here. I also think that people in the US have this kind of work hard, kind of play hard mentality, very hard working. So the culture, there are a lot of cultural differences, and then obviously the market is very different. The whole supply chain side here is very fragmented. So in the UK, when we supplied Waitrose, Sainsbury's, all the top large supermarkets, we supplied them direct. Here in the US, when we supply Whole Foods, we're going through UNFI, you're dealing with brokers.
Right.
So the market is much more fragmented.
So
not as easy.
So what I'm hearing is it's more complex, and there's not a lot of time to go to the pub around 5.
Correct. Yes.
No, yeah, pub culture doesn't exist as much here.
Doesn't exist.
No.
Here.
I got to ask, though. I mean, you created 2, it sounds like, very successful businesses. Why not just call it quits and move to like Turks and Caicos or something?
Well, I kind of did after I moved here 3 years ago after selling the popcorn brand, and I kind of went into semi-retirement for a few months, but I'm still young. I'm only 33. I love working. I'm a workaholic.
I know you were young, but like 33 is really young to have started 2 successful brands like that, and started a third.
I love the food industry. I'm very passionate about it, and I wanted to do something again. So it's kind of I'd say it's like this craving to always work. So I couldn't retire and do nothing.
All right.
Maybe if I, in my 60s, but I'm not there yet. I've got a bit of time.
Well, you have about 30 years, so I can only assume that you're going to work as hard as heck to make this.
Well, listen, it's not easy, as you know.
Sure.
It's all about execution, but so far so good, and we're just working as hard as we can to make the brand successful.
Well, good luck with BOU.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the Livestream Studio with us.